Welcome back, everybody, to the Joey Orsborn Show. I'm your host, Joey Orsborn, with the lowdown on some of the biggest news this week in sports. And with me today, we have a special guest. Please welcome Mr. Tyler Allen.
Hello, everybody. Joey, thank you for having me on this week.
Yep, we're happy to have you here, Tyler. So, without further ado here, let's get into some sports talk here. Some of the big news this week coming from the NHL is basically a train wreck that is the Vancouver Canucks franchise. As we saw earlier this week, they fired their head coach Bruce Boudreau for Rick Tocchet here. It's a move that the fans are not liking here, and let's just get on to the story here. Tyler, what are your thoughts on them firing the head coach for bringing in Rick Tocchet? What do you think? You know what I mean?
I think it wasn't the right decision in Vancouver. I don't think that there was any problem involved with Bruce Boudreau. Not as a coach. I don't think with the dumpster fire as it is right now with the Vancouver Canucks franchise. It's not that. What I think is it's more of a management issue with Patrick Alvin, Jim Rutherford. I think it's one of those. I mean, Jim Rutherford screwed up that franchise already. He hasn't even been there for a year yet, and he's already screwed over that franchise. And it's not only that, is he thinks that bringing Penguins coaches is going to solve the issue. Rick Tocchet was an assistant coach in Pittsburgh before he went to Arizona as a head coach. Sergei Gonchar was an assistant coach as they added him to the assistant coaching pool. But I don't think Bruce Boudreau was not the problem there, and he was clearly a fan favorite.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Clearly the wrong decision by Jim Rutherford here and the other management here. Now, I will say, Rick Tocchet here, even though he was in Arizona, he had some good, honestly, he actually had some of the better seasons Arizona has had in franchise history. To be honest here, this is the time when they got Taylor Hall, they made the playoffs, they actually weren't that bad of a team, you know what I mean? They were actually looking upward to that point before they had the whole collapse in 2020, lost Taylor Hall. But whenever he was coaching now, the Coyotes, actually were playing good. I will say that, compared to the way they normally play and how they've been playing this year, they are normally pretty awful. But right now, they have actually, whenever they had him, they actually were not that bad. They weren't completely awful. But they're great now. They're probably not going to win a Stanley Cup or anything. But, they want a bad team. So, he's not the worst hire in the world. I think he is a good coach. But it wasn't the right move to make. I think Bruce Boudreau was doing a spectacular job with the Canucks for what he was given. It's not his fault he has players who don't want to play. It's not his fault that management has gotten guys who have very high salary caps, but aren't very good anymore with Ekman Lawson, who actually is from Arizona originally, which is kind of funny as well. There's a lot of guys on the team. They're in cap hell right now. They tried to compete, but they just didn't do it well under the previous management, and the new management is just throwing their hands up in the air. They just don't know what they're doing right now. And honestly, in my opinion here, they made a wrong decision here. They screwed up, and Jim Rutherford once again screwed up. Jim Rutherford, I'm just going to say this right now, he is not the GM he used to be. He is not the GM we saw in Pittsburgh back in 2015, 2016, 2017. He lost it, honestly. It clearly showed at the end of his reign as Penguins GM with some of the stupid moves. Jack Johnson, the whole 3-year contract, which was an utter disaster. I'm still amazed he actually won a ring last year with the Avalanche, because honestly, he probably shouldn't even be in the NHL to begin with, but that's a whole another discussion here. He had the bad trade of Derek Brassard. That trade didn't make any sense. A lot of people didn't like it. Kasperi Kapanen trade, that's a more recent one. We gave up Jared McCann for basically and our first round pick for him and Philip Holland or anything Kasperi Kapanen has been a massive disappointment to the Penguins to this point. Like Holland right now, you don't know what he's gonna be. He's still a prospect. Like he is looking like he'll be a good prospect, but I get like bottom six. But I don't know that yet. Like this is some of the moves he was making were, like awful, but that also is the thing too. Like he had a life cycle for like even when he was in Carolina for the Hurricanes. They won a Stanley Cup in 2006, but toward the end of his tenure, he was awful. And a lot of us thought the same thing happened with the Penguins. He tried to trade Kris Letang, which honestly, at the time I was like, yeah, he probably should, but later you realize when he actually was playing good again, Letang was like, yeah, thank goodness we didn't trade him. That would have been like the worst possible thing in the world if we traded him. But like there's a lot of like things he's thinking about doing. Like he just isn't the GM he wants for us. I think last fall when he was gonna get hired, and be saying like he'd be really good, he'd get the Canucks probably somewhere out and then just fall apart. But instead of getting him somewhere, he just fell apart immediately. Right now, the whole Vancouver Canucks organization is pretty much a joke. It's like the biggest joke in the NHL right now. And it's pretty hard to beat the Arizona Coyotes, but they have done it with flying colors. So hats off to you, Vancouver, for literally basically just screwing up being a joke. So congratulations.
For screwing up their franchise and forcing them into a rebuild for probably the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, and now you gotta wonder here, what happens to some of the younger pieces like Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson, Brock Bessel? Are they up for sale now? Like, you gotta start wondering that. Like, how long is it for Elias Pettersson, the face of the franchise, wants to get the heck out of there because it's auto train wreck? Like, who wants to go to Vancouver? Like, they're not bad enough that they're gonna get Bedard. They're not. It'd be very hard for them to get Bedard. Like, they're not gonna get him, and they're probably gonna be a top 3 or 4 pick. Like, they're gonna probably be like 8, maybe 9. Probably even fall back in that in the draft. Like, this is, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. They have made bad decisions, and it's coming back to haunt them. Now, some of it you can say it was the former management with Jim Benning there. Like, he had a lot of issues. I definitely, he was an awful GM. But right now, Alvin, which I'm kind of shocked, 'cause I thought he would do good things, Coming from the Penguins, there's a lot of great people that come out of the Penguins organization. Like, we all thought, yeah, he'd probably do a good job. And it's Jim Waffle. It's like, yeah, he'll get awful toward the end. Like, he'll have some great things to do. Like, he'll get you there at first, and then he'll make you fall apart. But he will get you there. But now, basically, what has happened is he has just basically killed the Canucks. And I don't know what to say other than, what are you going to do now? Like, this is, I think they're going to have to sell off pieces. JT Miller is. His contract is an ankle on the team, and he doesn't even really want to be there. But Horvat, they don't have money to sign him. He's literally their captain. So he's going to be going somewhere in the offseason. Like, it's just another disaster. Tyler, any more thoughts on this?
I mean, pretty much the JT Miller screwed over the franchise, honestly. Because now they've already came out and said everyone's on the block. Let's hear what you want. The only player that's not available is Elias Pettersson, and it's so funny because he wants out of Vancouver. So, and they're the only player. So it makes me interested on like what would I see out of a trade for Quinn Hughes. I mean that's the real kicker there, and if Vancouver can make the right trades and stuff, they can be back and competing in 3, 4, maybe even 5 years, kind of like how Buffalo did, trading away their face of the franchise and Jack Eichel to Vegas, and they seem to be doing better than when Jack Eichel was on the Sabres. So, like, if you can draft well, if you can collect as many draft picks as you can, I mean, look at the Rangers too. I mean, they started rebuilding in 2017, and they're already one of the top in the NHL already, and there's just so many teams that you can compare to from kind of what the Canucks situation is, and what if I were the Canucks, what I'd do is I'd trade Bo Horvat at the deadline.
Well, that's an obvious
trade Brock. I mean, you obviously can't sign him. He won't want to sign because you don't have enough money to sign him. So why would you let your captain walk away for nothing when you can trade him at the deadline and you can fetch that first, second round pick Same with Brock Besser. I mean, these players like Kuzmenko is another one. You can fetch a second-round pick for him. So, I mean, you definitely have the skilled enough players where you can trade high right now with their price. You can get those high draft picks. You can get those beneficial prospects that's really going to help for your team in 4 to 5 years down the road. And before you know it, Canucks fans, you're going to be competing for a Stanley Cup if all goes to plan.
Yeah, the problem there, though, is if all goes to plan. And the thing with Jim Loveford is it can go to plan or it can really not go to plan. And examples of that, Derek Brassard trade, like, everyone expected him to be a very good center for the Penguins. Third-line center, exactly what we needed. One of the worst players on that team that year. He just didn't show up. He was supposed to be a good player. He never played up to that potential. The Jalen McCann, Nick Bukestad trade. Jalen McCann, he did a good job for the most part, but he was still a little like, you expect more of him. Bukestad, you expect a ton more out of him, but he never showed up. He never really performed, and then Penguins just pawned him off to Toronto, and then he got drafted by Seattle, and look what he's doing in Seattle right now, Jalen McCann. Like, he's an utter beast. Like, he's acting the Penguins need right now. Yet, guess where he is? Seattle. So you just really wonder, like, can he do this? Like, can he actually make the right moves? And teams know right now that none of the players want to be there, and they all want out. And then, they're not. They'll ask for something high, but if the players really don't want to even play there, like, GMs are gonna know in the back of their head, like, yeah, like, they're probably worth something, but I'd probably get them for less because they're like pretty unwilling to play for the Canucks anyway. Like, they just hit free agency, then I can just sign them later if I really want them that bad. Because I think they have a lot of free agents that are starting to get on the mark. Bo Horvat is one of them. I think he will get traded to a contender because, trade deadline season, you always want to bulk up for the playoffs and make sure your team's as deep as it possibly can be because, it's basically 2 months of war in the playoffs till you get to the Stanley Cup, and after that, it's war. It's basically war. Like, anything goes in the playoffs. The playoffs, anyone can win. It literally is true. Like, take, for example, 2016, 2017, the Nashville Predators. They were the last possible seed in the whole playoffs. They made the Stanley Cup Finals, and they took the Penguins to 6 games. Like, when I say anyone can win, it's true. Anyone can win the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. So, and another example. Yeah, another example of that was 2011-2012. The LA Kings come in as the 16th seed. Absolutely make a fool out of team.
San Jose,
I'm pretty sure it was Vancouver or Chicago, one of the two. Fooled them, swept them. I forget who it was, but you go on. They made it the whole way to the finals, beat the Devils in 6 games. I mean, they terrorized that Western Conference that year.
Exactly, and then same thing. I guess also is bringing that up. We could talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets 2018 against Lightning. Swept them. They were the President's Trophy winner. I think they had 62 wins. Got swept by an 8 seed in the Blue Jackets. Of course, that made the whole Blue Jackets Lightning rivalry, which was fun to watch for a couple of years, because the Lightning wanted to get back at them, and the Blue Jackets were still going at them, so it was always fun to watch. But yeah, but like, the thing is, you got to realize, can we build this team back up? Like, and the fans right now, they've pretty much lost faith in the team because it's they're going to be losing so many players. They fired a beloved coach, Bruce, there it is. Bruce, there it is. Like, they were chatting out like the final 2 games because they actually wanted him to stay. And he was nothing close to the problem. Honestly, I really hope Bruce Boudreau, he gets another job. I think he didn't do anything to not deserve a job. Honestly, I wouldn't like to see him an assistant head coaching job until, at some point in this season or next season, get a head coaching job because there will be openings for a head coaching job. There always is. I think definitely, especially Nashville, I think right now they have a coach they're looking at firing. I think that's going to happen. Calgary's right now looking at firing Dale Suter. Like, there's going to be places he can go next year, and I think he will get a job next year because it's not, like everyone knows, it's not his fault the Canucks are bad. It's the general manager, previous one in Benning, and now the new one in Elvin and Jim Mufford that have been the problem.
And the thing with Bruce Boudreau, too, is if he wants a head coaching job, he's going to get one. And I can name you, 6 or 7 teams right off the bat who could want Bruce Boudreau as their head coach depending on how things play out this season. Teams like Toronto, Nashville, Ottawa, Calgary, Anaheim, Blue Jackets, and maybe even Florida, for that matter.
Yeah, I know Florida is looking at noon right now due to their struggles as of late. So we'll see what happens there. But also, I'm talking about some of these players here. We have some players coming to the market. And actually, that's going to bring me up to my next thing here. I didn't really plan this, but we're going to do this here. So you said Quinn Hughes is on the market. Young, bright defense. You know a perfect team that needs a great, young, talented defense to help a nice core right now?
The New Jersey Devils. Oh, yeah, that would be nice.
Have you seen our defensive pair right now? But Ty Smith and POJ are looking good. But we need some better help, especially to get rid of Dumoulin over there. Honestly, a guy like that, that's a contender move. And I think that's something the Pens need to make. So, a lot of these Vancouver guys, if I'm a Penguins fan, watch out for them. I think there was a definite possible trade. I know Brock Besser was a guy I like. I think he'd do good with the Penguins. Quinn Hughes, honestly. He would totally help that defensive pairing so much. Definitely watch out for it. Yeah.
And that would be the move of the century, I think, for the Penguins. Like, could you imagine at the deadline the Penguins acquire Quinn Hughes and Brock Besser from the Canucks in exchange for so and so, some draft pick, few prospects, a few players? Could you imagine? Because I am assuming the Quinn Hughes trade, or what the asking price is, probably really high. It's probably a first-round pick plus. He's a young. He's a young. Yeah, he's a young generational talent at the defensive position, and I would like to see him, playing for the New Jersey Devils, only because his 2 other brothers are over there playing in Newark, New Jersey, and I would kind of like to see all 3 of the Hughes brothers playing in New Jersey.
Yeah, I don't know if that does happen, because right now, when it comes to the Devils, they need more on the wing side. Their defense, especially for the future, it's pretty bright. If I'm them right now, I'm more concerned about forwards. Actually, Brock Besser would be a good one. So I think they're going to be more going toward wing on a forward. I don't see Quinn Hughes going there. It would be cool to see, but I think he's going to go somewhere who needs more defense. And Pittsburgh is one of those places that they'll contend or that need some help with defense. And I think that's a good spot. This Muller wants to think he can go. But we'll talk about that more when it gets to the NHL trade deadline. But speaking of the Pens here, let's go to some Penguins here with Kris Letang coming back from injury tonight. And right now, as we sit, that game is going 4-4 between the Penguins and Panthers. Tyler, your thoughts on Kris Letang coming back to the Penguins here?
I'm happy to see him back after, how traumatic and terrifying it has been for Kris Letang over the past 2-3 months with having that second stroke and being put on LTIR, and then having his father pass away as he's hurt. And, coming into this season, everyone's like, oh, this is going to be such a fun year for Letang because he's approaching his 1,000th game in the NHL. And that was supposed to happen January 28th versus the Sharks heading into Game 1. But since he's missed so much time, I think that's pretty much delayed till March. But I specifically remember...
I think it's going to play April. I think it will still happen this year, though. It will still happen. It'll just be later.
Yeah, because I remember I said this on my podcast when I was talking about Letang and Malkin's 1,000th game coming up this year. And I just remember Malkin's 1,000th is going to be in Chicago. Letang's was going to be at home against the Sharks, which would have been this Saturday, but since he's missed so much time, I would imagine that's going to be delayed till mid-February, early March. I can actually tell you what game it's going to be if I can pull up the schedule. I'm pretty sure it's actually going to be in late February, around the time when the Oilers come to town next month.
Oh, I thought it was like a little farther away than that. Maybe I'm wrong though. I may be wrong with that, but I thought it was farther away. I thought it was originally gonna be in March, like during my spring breaks. I was gonna try to get down there, but it may end up being that, and I'll probably try to get there because I really wanted to see Crosby's, but COVID and also tickets have been insane to begin with. Would have wanted to see Malkin's, but it was in Chicago. Couldn't do that. Also, I don't really want to go to Chicago, but that's for other reasons. But maybe some other day in a couple of years, but not now. I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Nice place. Yeah.
So if I am, if this is right, hopefully tonight is Letang's 971st game. Tonight.
Yeah, so he's got just better games left. I think like.
He's got a good chunk left.
9. Yeah. So that's gonna be.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's
I don't know.
More.
I don't know if that's 100% right, but if NHL.com is correct, which I'm hoping they are, he's at career game 971.
I don't know if it has this game in yet, though, so it may be one off, but it would be around that time then. Yeah, we can figure out the time for when it will be, barring him staying healthy, which hopefully he does. But it's been an awful year for him. Not on the ice. He's been spectacular on the ice. No great season from him. He has not shown any rust, which is awesome for his age. He's got the big contract. But honestly, the problem is a lot of this outside stuff. You know, the stroke, which was awful to begin with. And then we had him getting into, I think it was a late injury. And then it's followed down. It's been a rough year for him, so, you know, we're just all hoping he gets back there and ready to play. But it's great to see him back tonight. And looks like they are doing better tonight than they have been. So, yeah, that's always nice to see here. And the Penguins, honestly, they're going to be a lot better now because they got Kris Letang back. Like, their defense is finally not Ian to Helen back. It's finally, like, they have guys up there. And, you know, I think Ty Smith's now finally playing again, you know. Like, I think the defensive pairings getting better. Petrie, since he got back, been doing a great job. I like what I see out of Petrie a lot this year. The only defenseman I really have been not liking what I'm seeing is Dumoulin, and I think Dumoulin's been a big issue for the Penguins. Like, I know loyalty and stuff, but right now, I think you just there's a point where you have to say no. Like, you know, it happened with Simone. There's a point where you just said, you know what, we've just given you too many chances and you've blown it. And I think we're going to see that happen soon here, too, I think, with Dumoulin. But, yeah, definitely, I think. But it's great that Letang is back here. Before I move on to the next segment here, Tal, any more thoughts on the Penguins in general?
As of right now, I'd like to say consistency. The Penguins have been very inconsistent this year with their play, going on either massive losing streaks or massive winning streaks. And they got... I mean, they got to be better at overtime, too. I mean, and, like, players like Dumoulin and Jeff Carter not having it this season. Unfortunately, we got Carter locked up for another season. Dumoulin's done. And, like, it's almost like, why don't you just go ahead and trade him? But I think that at the point now, between those two players, we would almost have to give up a pick just to get rid of them in their contracts. And if I'm not mistaken, both of them have a no-move clause for so many teams.
Yeah, but I think the other option is you could also cut them, honestly. If I was them, I'd just think about, just cut them.
Send them to the AHL.
Buy them out. Honestly, I think Jeff Carter this year, I say you just buy him out. Because if no one wants to trade him, he's becoming an anchor on the team, just buy him out. I think it's the more simple way to deal with it. Or call him in the AHL. And
bury him in the AHL.
Either he gets picked up, or he's going to the AHL. We don't have to deal with him. And if an injury comes up, we can call him back up, and hopefully he can do something for us, you know what I mean? Because he's a veteran player, so like, he could definitely still do something for us. Even if that's the best way. I think as a winger, he could probably be fine. He just can't play center anymore. He's got to the age now where he just cannot play that position anymore, if you know what I mean. He's just too old to really be able to play it that well. Like if he was a guy like Crosby or like Gretzky or Lemieux or Ovechkin, like something like that, like or even Malkin, like they're so elite that even at that age, they're still able to play that position very well. Like he's still like Sidney Crosby, to be honest, here, like he's having a spectacular year again. Malkin's had a very good year. Like, I think he's around like a point per game. Malkin is actually like he's scoring goals and stuff. Like he's had a great season. Malkin, like a lot of people are not talking about Malkin this year, but he has had a great season, honestly, for the Penguins. Like he's been a clutch when they've needed him to be. But yeah, Jeff Carter just isn't one of those types of players. He doesn't have that insane skill. He has some great skill, but he doesn't have that skill. And I think probably moving to the wings the best. But I think they've actually started doing that in the lineups. I think they did that tonight. They did the last game. So we'll continue to see how that plays out. But yeah, I agree with you. You gotta cut them loose at one point to say, we're done. You just have not done well. Please go. Bye.
And the thing too with Jeff Carter being on the wing piece, it isn't the first time the Penguins have done it. I think when you play Jeff Carter on the wing, he's played some of his best hockey all season if you put him on the wing. I mean, what do you get out of Jeff Carter every game? A face-off win or two? That's not going to cut it. You put him on the wing, you trade for a third-line center. Boom, your problem's going to be solved because Jeff Carter looks better when he's on the wing than he is at center.
Exactly. Now, I do actually wonder something. This was like a opinion here, but like, say the Penguins got a better second-line center. Like, say, like, Buck Best. I don't know if he plays center or not, but like, say, like, Bill Horford. Say, like, they got something like that. What would Malkin look like on the wing? Because I think he'd probably be pretty insane on the wing, honestly. Like, I know he's a center with trade, and he's still a very good center, but, like, imagining him on the wing, I think he'd be insane. Like, very good high scoring. What do you think on that, actually?
Putting Gina on the wing. Now, that's something I could see happening, just not right now. That would be something.
I understand, like, imagine if it did, yeah.
I think I've actually talked about this before in one of my episodes of my podcast, or maybe I heard about it somewhere where a scenario of this could actually happen and you play him on Crosby's line on the wing, but that'd wouldn't be until like his last year or two in the NHL.
He's still playing a high level of center right now, so it's not going to be this year, and I don't think it'll be next year. I do agree it'll probably be a while before that happens, unless they get a nice young center who's really good, in which case, let's move to the wing of Crosby, have him, Gensel, and Crosby go at it. I think that'd be the best line in hockey without a doubt. Like, it'd be a pretty insane line. Yeah, but let's move on here. So we're going to go into some baseball here. The biggest news here broke last week. He signed on Friday. The man is back in town, Pirates fans. You can rejoice. Andrew McCutchen is back in the board, baby. He is back. Finally, after a long time away from Pittsburgh, on the Giants, on the Yankees, on the Phillies, and on the Brewers somehow, he is finally back in the board on a one-year contract, $5 million. Let's get off here, Tyler. What do you think about the Pirates bringing back Andrew McCutchen?
I think it is a tremendous signing, and I'm just all ecstatic about it. I remember waking up and hearing this news and how excited I was for this on, finally coming back, and it just makes that trade with the Giants even more special because he's back on the team. And the thing, too, is what I love to hear from him is he's not here for a farewell tour. He's here to win. He saw the Pirates as a young, upcoming team with what they'd done, and he signed. And now with McCutchen in the lineup, I just want to read this. Now you're going into 2023 opening day with McCutchen, Reynolds, and Sawinski in the outfield. In the infield, you got Hayes, Cruz, Castro, and G-Man Choi. And then you got Austin Hedges behind the plate with Santana as your DH. And, you can rotate Santana into first base. That is a big step up from last year. McCutchen not only brings tickets or puts fans in the seats at PNC Park, the Pirates have an actual run at the postseason.
I agree with you. Like, this is a significantly better roster than last year's opening day one, which had Joss Van Meadle in it. Of course, we all loathe that man in Pittsburgh. Like, he had some pretty bad players. This one's a battle, and also we got to talk about here too, Tyler, is the prospects that come up this year. Like, we already know Andy Rodriguez will be up at some point. Spectacular catching prospect. Henry Davis, another spectacular catching prospect, the number one overall pick in the 2021 draft. He'll probably be coming up. Lirego Peguero will probably come back up because he was up there for a little bit last year. I think he will probably come up.
Nick Gonzalez.
I think Nick Gonzalez, yeah, he may come up. And the big one, pitching-wise, Burroughs is going to come up. That's the one big one. And then the other one, Quinn Priester, the 2018 first-round pick, who he's going to be a very exciting player, future ace, I would say. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen his curveball, but his curveball, like, have you used to watch videos of it? One of the nastiest I've ever seen. Like, it's a spectacularly great curveball. Like, all these great young prospects are finally going to come up this year, and then the year after, we'll probably, at some point soon, we'll get Tamar Johnson, who, honestly, last year was ranked as the best prep hitter in decades. Was very exciting. He has that, and he clearly shows a Bubba Chandler, both a great pitcher and a great batter. So he'll be a two-way player, say like Shohei Ohtani. Like he's that type of player. I don't know if he'll live up to what Ohtani is, but he has a lot of great potential and skill. So he could be a very exciting player. Like this is all these great players coming up. Outfielder Shalene Polanco. He's right now, I think, in single A. I think he's a Scottsdale. And he's only like 18 right now, but like, not this year, possibly next year, more likely 2025 he comes up. But that kid's going to be insane. There's another great one, outfielder down there. It's going to be insane. And you already got Sawinski, who's also young. It's pretty good. And if they trade Reynolds, we could get some very interesting, like, say, to the Yankees, you get Jason Dominguez. And I think that guy, that's who I want him to go to. If we get Jason Dominguez, I'll say, like, I think this guy right now is going to be the best center fielder in the game 5 years down the road. I think he has insane potential, like a face for franchise. And that's honestly, if you're gonna trade Reynolds, you should be getting a face for franchise. I say you would in that scenario, and honestly, but right now, just as the team goes, I don't think they trade Reynolds yet. I think you still wait a little bit. Like I would just if he's willing to play this year for you guys, even though he wants out, have him play this year. Don't even trade him at the deadline because he'll have a great year this year. Like we all know he's going to. Wait till the offseason and make sure you get a prospect who can replace him who's pretty close. And that prospect-wise, Jason Dominguez is pretty close. But yeah, just Anna McCutchen, this team, I know, when I heard the news, I woke up, because I slept until like 11 that day. But I wake up on like 10:30, 11, I see it, and I shrieked like a little girl. I'm going to be honest with you right now. I did a shriek. And my parents like, well, what's wrong? Like, I know my mom, she had, like, knee surgery, so, like, she's down okay, but she's, like, screaming up there, like, Joey, you okay? So I'm like, and I just start screaming, the Pirates got McCutchen back! The Pirates got McCutchen back! Like a lunatic when I saw it, like, I'm jumping up and down, like, it was the craziest thing out. Like, that's probably, like, one of my biggest freakouts sports-wise in a while. Like, it was insane. Spectacular moments just in general, like, for people who aren't Pirates fans, if you want, like, what this feels like, if you're a Cleveland fan, you know, when LeBron left, and when he came back, it's like that. It's the equivalent of that for Pittsburgh, pretty much. Like, the big guy is finally back. He's the former face of the franchise, and he's finally home, and he's gonna be mentoring and teaching these young guys. Like, I'm excited to see how he can help Neil Cruz. I think he's gonna help him out a lot, because Neil Cruz, he is probably the face of the franchise right now. I know a lot of us thought Ke'Bryan Hayes would be, but O'Neal has really more into that, but I think Ke'Bryan Hayes also still an insane third baseman. He has the insane glove. I think the hitting, especially for a guy like McCutchen to help him out, it's going to improve immensely this year. There's a lot of excitement for this team right now, and just looking at the Central. The Central is, to be quite frank, honestly, a literal joke. Seriously, it is like an actual joke right now. The Cincinnati Reds? Yeah, that team is worse than the Pirates. If you're worse than the Pirates, there's probably a problem with you. And it's pretty big. Because the Pittsburgh Pirates, to be quite frankly, are the Browns of the MLB. And I sadly am a fan of them. Let's look at the Cubs here. They had some interesting signings this year. They had Dansby Swanson, good move. I like Dansby Swanson. I know I'm sure you like him too, Tyler. But then they got Cody Bellinger, who has been he's an MVP like type player, but he's been pretty bad these last couple years. He's been very inconsistent. But hey, he may be on a 1-year contract. And then we had Tyon. He went there. Let me tell you about these 3 players. Dansby Swanson, he's a good player. He's a good shortstop fielding wise, but he doesn't really bring much to the bat. Bellinger, former MVP, but last 2 years, pretty bad. Like, so bad that the Dodgers didn't even want to sign him. And the Dodgers signed a lot of people. Like, they basically hand out money. Like, they just give it, one person to another. And then Jameson Tyon. He is the mode of inconsistency in a pitcher. Like, I love the guy. He's a great person. I loved him. He was in Pittsburgh. Great guy. But he can have either really off years. He'll have a good year, but he also has bad years too. Like, he can fluctuate from start to start, from season to season. He sat the Yankees for his tenure there. 4th season wasn't very good, toward the upper end of a 400 ERA. This season, he had a good job. He did a very good job. So it depends on what Tyon you're getting. Like, there's just a lot of questions on that Cubs team, and I just don't know about them. You know what I mean? I just don't know. Brewers, that window closed. The ship has sailed. They're going to be starting to rebuild here soon, I bet. Like, they have some great starting pitching prospects, but in the field, it's just Adames and Yelich, if he shows up, but he hasn't shown up in, the last 2 years. Like, there's just been so many question marks. Like, you have some good role players. Like, it's a good, players who can, make an impact, like McCutchen, but guess happened to him? He went to the Pirates. Yeah. So you've just lost a decent amount of players. Like, you got to wonder here. I think the window's finally closed. Like, 2019, that was their shot. That is when they had to, in this great position to finally make a shot at it, finally make a run, and win a World Series. And they failed on that. They just failed, honestly. And the Cardinals, 90 wins last year. Like, a good team. Had a great spectacular getting to see Pujols come back as farewell, but they lost a decent bit. Pujols, he carried them toward the end of the season. Like, he got them that NL Central title. Like, because they were so close to the Brewers. He won them that, honestly. He really did. He played his butt off for them. And it was great to see him, do very well. Honestly, I was a Pirates fan, and even I was a little happy to see what he was doing. Like, I was like, yeah, that's good to see him do that. But they fell apart to the Phillies. And the Phillies, I'm not going to say they are a good team right now, and I like what they did. But they were a team running on momentum. I don't think they were better than the Padres. Or, I'm thinking who else they play. I think they played the Braves. Yeah, I think it was the Braves. And they weren't better than the Cardinals, but, they had a lot of great momentum helping them out. Like, they're just one of those teams, they had the momentum going, and you just really couldn't stop them. But still, you gotta wonder here, what all is going on here? There's a lot of questions. Nolan Arenado, he's getting in his late 30s now. He's gonna probably have a decline soon. Paul Goldschmidt, he's reaching the coolest age of 36. If you don't know about that for a first baseman, there's a certain age where they have decline. And sometimes they can be pretty sharp. Do you remember Chris Davis? Played for the Orioles, really good, 400 home run. 40 home run season, not 400. 40 home run season the year before. He fell off, became one of the worst players in baseball. I think he was age 36. When you get to that point, that's when the fall off begins. I think Joey Votto, he's been better when he's healthy, but he had a big decline. He was one of the best first basemen out there. Had a big decline at around that age. That's really, really happened. And I think Paul Goldschmidt's probably going to have a decline. Now, is it going to be a sharp decline? No, I don't think he's going to have instantly sharp decline like Chris Davis. I'm not saying that. But I think there'll be a decline this year from the MVP this year. I think he will have a decline. The Cardinals in general are going to have a decline. They lost Yadier Molina. That guy's literally the face of the franchise now. He finally decided to retire. I know they got Wilson Contreras, but here's the thing about Contreras. He's good, but he's also not. He'll have good moments, then he won't. But he's not Yadier Molina. He's a good player. I like Wilson Contreras. Not as a Pirates fan, I think as a player, he's a good player. But he's not Yadier Molina. He is never going to be Yadier Molina. That's the face to face. Like the Cardinals lived and died with Molina, and Molina's gone now. And I think the Cardinals. Now, will they be a bad team this year? No, they won't be a bad team. I think they will probably. They're still favorites right now, I would say. But if the Pirates would say call up the prospects and stuff like that, and they play well, especially now with McCutchen, it's a different story. It's more like, yeah, you're still good, but like, these Pirates are coming up pretty quickly and fastly here. Like, they're probably going to have to hold off them at some point this season. I think definitely September-wise, the way I see it right now, just with the prospects and now we have McCutchen, the Pirates are going to be fighting for probably on September. I think it's going to be, when it comes down to it, it'll be the Cardinals and Pirates, neck and neck, fighting for it, like in the great old days of 2013, 2014, 2015. They're going to be neck and neck and fighting for it. But yeah, Tyler, what are your thoughts on this deal?
So with the McCutchen signing, I must say, I feel like this is a move by the Pirates in two things, is I'm going to say. One, it's a way for McCutchen to mentor these young prospects into, maybe even be mini McCutchens,
Exactly. I'd like to see that. Yeah.
Help them reach full potential, and then it's another way to get fans in the stands. You're going to make more money just because McCutchen's back in. Maybe not in jersey sales, because,
Well, I need a new one. Mine's like 12 years old, so like it doesn't even fit me anymore. Like I actually need a new one, yeah. So they'll get one from me. They'll get one jersey sale from me for sure. I need one.
Yeah, and they will for me. Not McCutchen, probably just a plain jersey. There's no one on the back, but like I don't know. Your team's now suddenly good. Now you're gonna start making profits off of that, and those are probably the two biggest things. And I agree with the Central Division. It's going to be so weak this year, and your only contending team is going to be the Cardinals, and maybe the Cubs might squeak in there. The Reds are going to be bad. Milwaukee definitely will probably really struggle this year. But
yeah, for sure. They just have a lot of aging players there, and he has not been himself. He needs to get back there, and I don't know if he will because he's getting up there now too.
I mean, it's going to be a great season for Pirates baseball, and you never know. Hopefully, we see the Pirates go to Bucktober for the first time in a very long time, because definitely Pirates fans have been through enough, and we certainly deserve a trip to the postseason.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the other thing is, I will say this. I've been saying this for a couple of years now. 2023. That is when the window for the Pirates will start to open. I've been saying that for a while now. That's what management's plan has been. And this offseason, they basically confirmed. They bought some great players. And now, Celine Garcia, starting pitcher, insanely underrated. He had, I think, a 2-something ERA. Like, he was very underrated for the Giants. He had a great season, and they brought him in. I'm excited to see him. There's some good players as well. And who's still a pitcher like Vasquez? Was his last name?
Vince Velasquez. Vince Velasquez.
Yeah, he's been up and down stuff, but yeah, I'm excited to see it. Rich Hill, honestly, he's 4 years old. His stats aren't that bad. I think he can be a good reliever, honestly. That's probably what he'll do for the Pirates. Mitch Kell had a great year last year, finally for the first time. Like, it was great to see it. And I think he's going to build off it. You have Mike Bors and Quinn Priestwell probably coming up, both very highly touted. Juan Contreras. Very good. Had a great rookie season, and I'm excited to see him build off it. But there's just so many great things starting to come up, and honestly, as a Pirates fan, if you really were following, like you were kind of expecting this. Like, this is when the window was going to open for us. But, of course, what we all didn't expect was they'd actually bring back McCutchen. And what that does, I think it even accelerates it more, because you now have a very reliable player out in the outfield who can help mentor these players, and he still has stuff in the tank. He's not prime 2013 Aaron McCutchen, like we all know that, but like he still has his legs. He still can hit pretty good. I think he hit like 20 home runs. It was like 23 or 24 home runs last year. Like, he had a good year. And I'm excited to see what he does. I think, honestly, Pirates-wise, this is a team, like, we're going to get a full season on Neil Cruz, and at the end of the year, there for the last month, he was literally tearing it up. The Pirates had a great last September, I thought they did. And O'Neal Cruz is the reason why. And he's now here for a full time. And we'll get Andy Rodriguez, fairly highly touted prospect. Henry Davis, highly touted. Like, this is so much coming up. It's exciting to watch the Pirates.
And the thing, too, with the Pirates' success, how they're setting themselves up for success, is now you have a great line of prospects in your system that you can be calling up probably up till 2026, because don't forget, the Pirates also have the first overall pick in the 2023 MLB draft.
Cruz, yeah. Hopefully Dylan Cruz. That's what I want to see.
He's an outfielder, right?
Yeah, LSU. Outfielder from LSU, yeah. Why not?
Outfielder from LSU.
Number one overall pick, yeah.
And you pretty much set yourself up for success, because now, next 4 seasons, you're going to have these line of prospects coming up, and if you really want to be that World Series contender, it doesn't hurt to trade some of those lower-end prospects, and you can start bringing in some superstar players from other teams, and hopefully be competing for a World Series here really soon.
Yeah, no, but exciting on the Pirates, and so we're going to move into our final segment here. We're going to do some football talking. I'm going to keep this a little short because we're getting a little long here, but let's talk about, first we're going to talk a little about Buffalo Bills here and that whole catastrophe against the Bengals here. First off, I just want to say a few things. I'm very disappointed in the Bills. I don't know what happened to them, but I don't know what the heck that was. Like, they should have played with a file, but the file, it ran out. I don't know what happened, but something happened now, and it ran out. And also, they did make me look a little idiotic because I said they'd won the Super Bowl. Obviously, they're not going to now, but it just seems like it's a team that just lost momentum. I don't know what happened. They had a lot of injuries. I thought, I think a lot of us thought that Damar Hamlin incident would make them really want to get out, really motivate them and help them play better. But I'm starting to think now maybe it did affect them because they just couldn't do it. They just fell apart. And you got to start wondering here with the Bills, what's going to happen this offseason? Are they going to have to do something? What are they going to do? And I think they have to definitely do something. Tyler, your thoughts on the Bills?
Well, it obviously wasn't a great performance. I mean, considering the conditions at Buffalo, you're used to playing in those conditions all the time. Even though Cincinnati's, little southwest of them, or a little west.
They do get snow, but it's
not as much as Buffalo.
And even here, we don't get that much, and we're still pretty up north.
Compared to Buffalo, it is just a bad performance. And I guess what hurt Buffalo mostly was injuries. They have some really key players that are hurt right now. And not only that, is they can potentially lose some really key players this offseason heading into free agency.
Yeah, I know Tremaine Edmonds, that's the one. Actually, Steelers fans, he is to our Edmonds brother, and yes, he is a name to watch for in the offseason. As we most likely losing Devin Bush because Bush is a little childish and doesn't like Tomlin for some stupid reason. I don't know why, but he's probably gone, and we're going to have to get someone else. So watch out for Tremaine Edmonds. I think he's going to be a signing for the Steelers this offseason.
Yeah, especially since both of his brothers play for the Steelers. He's got 2 brothers, and they're both on the Steelers.
Yeah. I don't know if Trey Edmonds is the running back. I know Terrell, of course, is because he's our starting strong safety, but yeah. But also some of the injuries you're talking about, too, is you'll lose key players, but also there are some key players that got lost injury. Von Miller, actually. Honestly, Damar Hamlin, actually, he was having a great season before the incident. He was actually finally coming out. And he was a player I've been very high on because, he played at Pitt, so I got to get exposure to him as a fan. I really liked what he did. He was having a good season before that.
I mean, he's from the Pittsburgh area, too. He went to Central Catholic High School. So, guys, I guess for 2 people who went to Butler, that's a team that, the Golden Tornado play every year.
Or not anymore, but they used to. They got that's a whole other story. So I won't get into that. But yeah, no, it's just disappointing to see what happened to Buffalo. So, before our last segment here, today's episode, we are going to talk about the AFC and NFC championship games and what we think is going to happen. And I'm going to start off here I'm gonna say AFC wise, we got Kansas City and Cincinnati. I really don't want Cincinnati to win, but with Mahomes being very questionable right now, I think I have to go Cincinnati on this one. I think they take the AFC spot in the Super Bowl, and that's what I think. Tyler, on the AFC side, what are you thinking here?
If Mahomes plays, the Chiefs. If Mahomes doesn't, it's the Bengals. And the reason why I say this is I know the Chiefs have gotten significantly worse since last year, but they still have that speed. Mahomes is still defying the odds, and I think the Chiefs will make it. And I think they'll go back to the Super Bowl if Mahomes plays that game. And also, the Chiefs, they probably would have made it to the Super Bowl last year against the Bengals. I remember big time they tried going for his 4th and goal. There's like 4 seconds left till halftime. They missed that chance. You end up losing the game by a field goal. You get that field goal. You're going to win the game by a field goal because the Bengals didn't get that field goal or whatever till overtime. So, the Chiefs could have had another trip to the Super Bowl last year. But I'm sure the coaching staff in Kansas City, they're going to make the smart decisions and not probably do that again. And I'm going to take the Chiefs as of right now because probably the best bet is Patrick Mahomes will be playing against the Bengals on Sunday.
Yeah, the thing is, I did say Bengals, but if Mahomes is healthy and full strength, I think the Chiefs win. The problem is, we don't know if he's full strength. It looks like that he'll still play, but he won't be full strength Mahomes. He won't be the insane Mahomes. He'll just be a normal quarterback back there. And when you're facing a team as hard as the Bengals with Joe Burrow and all those guys, you don't know if you're gonna win. If you know what I mean. You just gotta question and wonder that. But NFC side, 49ers and Eagles here. I think I got to go 49ers on this one. I think the 49ers are going to get a win, but it'll be a very close game. Both spectacularly great teams, spectacular offenses, spectacular defenses. But 49ers are going to get a better defense, and I think they get Philly, honestly, because, I just think the 49ers right now are the more proven team. I think Brock Purdy has just come in now, and he's just taking the reins, and he's leading this team, and he's getting them far. He's doing what Garoppolo probably wouldn't. He's doing what Trey Lance I think wouldn't do, but we still don't know because Trey Lance keeps getting hurt or not playing. So, we don't know what type of Trey Lance is. But, this season was, I think when we get to next season, the strong quarterback of the 49ers is Brock Purdy. I think that's who they're going to go with from now on. I think they actually have their guy at quarterback. It looks like they finally have their guy, which they have been trying to get from time after time. Forced to throw Jimmy G, then they traded up for Trey Lance. But it looks like Mr. Irrelevant himself from this year is actually going to be the guy. And he's defying the odds right now. He just reminds me right now a lot of Brady. How Brady started. He was a 6th-round pick. You don't expect him to be good. He turned out to be the GOAT. But am I saying Brock Purdy is going to be Tom Brady? No. I want to make sure that's very clear. Tom Brady, he's not going to be Tom Brady or anything like that. But he's going to be a good player. And I say 49ers take this. And we're going to have 49ers Bengals in the Super Bowl. How about you, Tyler?
I'm taking the 49ers here on this one. And really, the only way I want to say it is I'm a big fan of Brock Purdy. And I just want to see how big of the story this is going to be if a guy who gets drafted with the last overall pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, turns out to be that relevant player that takes the San Francisco 49ers to a Super Bowl win in his rookie season. That is going to be absolutely unbelievable if that happens. And with the superstars that he is surrounded by in Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, you got a great offensive line. You got Trent Williams on your offensive line. And Brock Purdy's already already has double the amount of playoff wins than Jalen Hurts does. And if you look at stats and all that fun stuff, Jalen Hurts is actually the worst quarterback out of all 4 of these quarterbacks that are left. And it's wow, he's getting beat out by a rookie who was probably not going to be anything special in this league. I mean, how could you not root for Brock Purdy? And again, like what you said going into next year, do you roll with Trey Lance or Brock Purdy? And because Jimmy G's out the door, he's going to go probably play for the Seahawks in free agency or the Saints or one of those teams, maybe even the Bucks. But
yeah, I don't think it's the Seahawks. They already committed to Geno Smith for next year. They already committed to him. So it's not going to be Seattle because they are committed to him. And honestly, it's probably the right move for Seattle. He had a great year.
Yeah, absolutely agree. But I want to see, for me, the most ideal Super Bowl would be a Bengals 49ers Super Bowl. In my opinion, that would be best case scenario.
Like the 80s showdown again. Because I think they faced off multiple times in the 80s in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch of 49ers Chiefs. Worst case scenario for me, I don't want to see an Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl. That's the absolute worst case scenario for me.
Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't mind the Eagles Chiefs. I wouldn't mind that, but I think the Eagles would have to win that. Because the 49ers, I don't know, Chiefs have already won one, but I guess Eagles have too. But it's a pretty different Eagles team than what won it a couple years ago. Like, they are pretty different. Like, the defense is not the same, but like, they don't have Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, like, Jalen Hurts. Like, it is a definitely different team, though. So we'll see what happens. But yeah. But we'll wrap it up here for this episode. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And I also like to give a final shout out here to Tyler Allen, our guest here today. He also has a podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcast. It's on, I think it's on all of them for the most part. So looking at the big.
Yinzers at the Point. It's Yinzers at the Point podcast. It's on everything Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yep, so if you're a big Pittsburgh Penguin fan like myself here, go check it out. It's a great podcast. Tyler does a spectacular job on it. It's always fun to listen to. So definitely, he's also on YouTube as well. So if you see it on there, like and subscribe to his as well. And thank you for coming on the show, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Joey. It's always a pleasure being on a podcast with you.
All right. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you all later.